Hey, it's Mike with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday. It's April 12th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and this will wrap up our lessons for the week. No chart lessons on Friday, so it'll be Monday before we'll be back again. But today we started out with a nice, strong, really strong uptrend, a spike. We spiked up and went to this channel, but we quickly flattened out not long after the market opened and just went sideways the rest of the day. And as we've talked about previously, the best way to handle sideways action range is you buy the lows and you sell the highs. And so that's what we were looking at today. And um, so most of what you're going to see here is buys off the lows and some sales off the highs. And in the middle is where you got to kind of be careful because you can get tripped up in the middle. But we'll back out here. We'll talk about the trades and we'll wrap up the day and wrap up the week. It's been sunny and bright and shiny for 3 days now, so the pollen is flying around here again, and so my throat's a little scratchy again. I get a little bit of allergies this time of year, and so if I sound a little funny, you'll just have to bear with me because my throat is a little bit scratchy. So, but let's talk about the trades. We spiked up here and we're moving up here and kind of going sideways into the 7 o'clock hour. This was actually before 7 o'clock, but I just marked it because there wasn't much happening here. I went ahead and marked it. Notice that we're moving up, and that's your first entry, second entry. So there's a failed second entry short there. But we did push up and pull back and make another test of this low here. And this is like a little breakout pullback of this little congestion area. And that's a nice bullish bar. So I like going long right there. It's a little bit aggressive. There's not a whole lot of room to scalp out. It's at the high of the day. We have had a close outside the new high, but when it turned down there and failed and gave you a little double test, I don't have my line there, but you can see there's a little bit of support right across there. That's a little, and notice we broke higher here. This line would have been, I would have had it right about there, and so we break higher, pull back, just like a little breakout pullback and a nice bullish bar. So again, it's aggressive, but I like that one. You really didn't get a good or fairly decent setup till here. And we pull back here, and that's another little, just another breakout and pull back to test the upper side of the range. And notice how we bounced up. And there is a little hidden second entry in there. And this one actually went lower and turned and went out the other side. I still didn't mark it. I think it's a little bit too risky because now we've got a close outside and you've got basically two measured legs up. You got this leg up, correction, then another leg up, and that's basically a perfect measured leg there. So I didn't mark that one, but notice we get up here and there's actually a second entry here if you count off the original high, but it's just in the middle of nowhere. You're not even back to the EMA, definitely not back to what looks like the trend line. So you need to wait on that one, and it actually turns down and gives you a second leg down, and this is a double top. So when we broke higher right here, that's a second entry, and that's a fairly bearish bullish bar right there. It didn't close quite on its high, but there's enough reason to like that one, and so I like going long right there. It's right off the trend line. It confirms it, and you can see what happens. That's where all your big moves will happen at the key entry points, and now off it goes. And then we're working higher, and then you get a first entry short, a second entry short, and this is right off the EMA. And notice that it turns down. I don't like entering right here off this there's a second entry long right here as well, but you're kind of going sideways here, and this is just a couple of inside bars. And so when it broke lower here, that little failed break lower and turns and goes out the other side, I like going long right there. And we talked about that yesterday. Sometimes you'll catch some important lows or highs, depending on which direction you're going. This didn't turn out to be one of those, but it still turns out to be a nice trade. And then we get a two legs back for another second entry, long with a fairly bullish bar here. And the reason this one's green is because we weren't back to the trend line, and we actually pushed through the EMA. We pushed through the midline here, and so, but it is a second entry and it is a bullish bar, and this is a strong uptrend still at this point. So if you probably want to take that if you like being aggressive. There's plenty of room to get out the whole 9 yards, and of course we push up. We break higher here and turn down, but you just about need to wait on that lower high, and that comes right here. But now you're on the low side of this trend line working, possible trend channel. That's what I did. I drew this off the lows and drug it over. And so you got to be careful getting short right there. It would have worked, but I think you're better off to wait on that failed second entry long. And that comes right here. And notice how it broke. It's kind of a repeat pattern of this right here, except it's just reversed. And what it actually was broke lower here, on this first bar, I wouldn't take that, and the reason being, even though it's a failed second entry long, it's right into this trend line, and there's been no real close outside that trend line, or convincing close, and so you don't want to be going short right into that. But when it ticked up right there and turned and went right out the other side, I liked it then, but it's still a little bit aggressive because of this trend line, but you might catch an important high right there again. It didn't turn out to be that way. It turns out that we're just in a range here. But I like that setup just because you probably trap people. And notice how this, I don't know if you can see that. Let me make this a little bigger. This bar actually went one tick higher than these two matching highs here. So that really makes it, you're probably going to trap some people, and you can see how it suddenly rocketed down, then you pull back and you test a little breakout and you go lower. And this one's tempting, but it's right into all these lows, and so, and it's not really a perfect bearish bar by any chance, or perfect signal bar. So I think you're better off just to wait. And then of course now we actually pushed through what was kind of the support area, and we make a new low here, and then we try to go low short once, you try to go short twice, and you'd consider that you might get a failed failed break lower here, and so you're kind of looking for it to bounce back. And so I like going long right there on that failed second entry short. We just came off these lows and we had a little failed break lower, so we're probably going to go higher again. Surprisingly, we didn't get back up to the highs, but we still went higher. And you get a close outside. And on this one, you probably need to wait on the true reversal. There's a lower high here, and it's a big bearish bar, but we're not back to that high yet. So I want to see a reversal pattern, and it pushes through here, pulls back, gives that failed second entry long, a relatively bearish bar. Just go short, and that's a quick, easy move right back down to the lows again. And so that's a nice setup. And then look what happens on the other side. We bounce off those lows, and there's a little trout right here. Notice that you made a low, and then it goes lower and turns, it goes out the other side. So this is a higher low, and we're a good bit away from the EMA. So you could argue for that one. I mean, you could even argue if that one almost be blue, but I think you're better off to wait and see if you get a reversal pattern. And you get that right here, but notice that before it breaks higher, we've already traded lower again, and this is like one of those that probably traps a bunch of shorts here, and then it turns. If it breaks above all those matching highs, it's probably going to jump up real fast, and sure enough, that's what happens. That's a nice reversal pattern right there. Even though technically your failed second entry short happened here, it wasn't a failure until it broke higher, and that was right here above this bar. And that's a huge bar. So, but it's still going to be a good setup, because you figure it, when it breaks above here, it's going to take off real fast, and it kind of did it all in that one bar. And then we just kind of working up. And again, remember, when you're in a range, the middle part, even though it's working here, every time it pulls back, there's no good setups, and you just need to be, because you could be like right here, you try to get long, and guess what? It turns on you. So you want to be closer to the lows towards the reversal type pattern, or closer to the highs going short. Then we do that up here. We actually break higher. You get a lower high here, but you got two little small bars that are inside bars. Neither one of them are, they're more bullish than bearish, but neither one of them are very bearish. This one's relatively bearish, but by that time you're right back into these lows right here. And so you don't want to risk going short into that, and the EMA is right there as well. But when it pushes on straight on through and pulls back and fails, there's your reversal pattern. Just go short right there. You had to kind of wait on this one to make another little jog up. But if you weren't in now you got a second entry short counting off that low. There's the first entry, second entry, and everything's below the EMA. It does confirm that trend line pretty much as well. So if you weren't already in here, definitely get in here, and I probably wouldn't have a problem adding on there because you should be headed to the other side if if the range is going to continue, and that's exactly what happens. And again, you get a couple more pullbacks to the trend line, but notice how they're just dojis and a lot of stacked up, and you definitely don't want to go short right into that support area where the range has been bouncing. So let this break lower, then look, just wait and see if you don't get a a reversal or failed break lower. You actually get a higher low here, and it's similar. It is actually similar to this, so it's almost a repeat pattern, but it's right close to that EMA, and you could touch it and turn back down. So I think you're better off to wait on the failed second entry short, which doesn't come to way up here, and now you really just now you've got this steep trend line right here, and you get a close outside. So I think you're better off to wait, and it comes back again here, but you don't get a break higher until this bar over here, and this is a bearish bar, and so it finally comes back again, and you got a little support right across here, and it drops lower. But let me explain why I marked this one in green. And this is aggressive, and this is something you need a little experience probably. Notice that you're moving up first entry, you're moving up second entry. Well, on just a slightly larger chart, that's just one move all the way up. You won't see that one little tick lower. You'll just see a couple bars going all the way up, and then you get a first entry short and a second entry short, and price has failed, it turns up. So on a little bit larger chart, there's a failed second entry short there. So there's what I would call a bit of a hidden failed second entry short there, and that's getting us back into the range, which is what you kind of would expect to happen. And otherwise, really, we probably should have, once we started going lower here, you would expect that we'd probably keep going and get another measured leg if we were going to keep moving lower, but we're getting back in the range here. And so if you saw that, you could argue to take that one being aggressive and look at the move it makes. At this point, look for a minimum of a measured move like this one. And you can see that, and we actually went a little further than that before it pulls back again. And notice what happens here. You make a new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and that's the first close outside here. We're not quite back to the previous high, but we are close to where you would consider that to be the main high across there. And so you got plenty of room to get out before that, and you're not quite there. So, and this is the first real close outside of this trend line. So you expect it to probably push up there, at least get a scalp, and it takes on off. And notice there's a failed second entry short there, but it's after 2 o'clock, and we've already come off the high now a couple of times there. But you see it still would have worked. That pattern's, but you got to be careful taking that pattern up here, because that's not, even though it's a reversal type pattern, if it was a big trend, I would say yeah, but since this is a range day, you're really looking for prices to turn down here. But we end up getting a failed breakout before it turns back down. So, but that's one you might consider anyway. All the same, I'll mark it green. It's after 2 o'clock, but I just wanted to point it out there so I could show it to you. But yeah, it was a standard kind of range day. It started off looking like a big trend, and we just kind of went sideways after that. We spent 90% of the day going sideways here, and you can see the EMA, and as long as prices are bouncing on both sides of that EMA, it's pretty much you can trade it both ways. And notice once we finally turned up here consistently, then you got a nice trend working up here, and that would have given a little more credence to this trade too. So, But that's what I saw today, and that's going to wrap up the week. I hope you had a good trading week. Hopefully you learned something this week. And we'll be back again to do it Monday. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.